Welcome to English Drive-Thru. I'm Iris, here with Ernesto and our little schnauzer Spoty, ready to help you master workplace small talk. We're keeping things simple and practical so you can connect with your colleagues today.
Making friends at the office doesn't have to be scary or complicated. We're here to show you how a few short sentences can change your whole workday.
We've put together 3 common scenarios you'll face at the office every single day to help you practice.
These are the exact situations where you can use your English to build real relationships. Let's jump into the practice samples.
Hey Ernesto, have you had a chance to try that new dark roast coffee in the breakroom yet? I heard the company switched vendors last week to save some money.
Not yet, but I'm definitely in need of a caffeine boost after that marathon meeting this morning. I'm hoping it's a step up from the bitter stuff we had before.
I agree, the previous brand was pretty rough on the stomach and barely kept me awake. By the way, are you still on track to finish that quarterly report by Friday?
I'm making steady progress, though I've had to deal with a few unexpected hiccups in the data. I'll probably have to put in some overtime tonight to meet the deadline.
Good morning, I see you're carrying a lot of gear today. Are you heading out for a site visit? It looks like it might pour later, so I hope you have an umbrella handy.
Spot on, I'm checking out the new construction downtown, and I'm really dreading the traffic. Hopefully, I can wrap things up before the storm hits this afternoon.
Traffic has been a nightmare lately because of the road work on Main Street. Have you considered taking the back roads to avoid the congestion?
That's a solid suggestion. I'll check my GPS to see if that shaves off some time. I really don't want to be late for the walkthrough with the client.
How was your weekend? I saw on social media that you went hiking up in the mountains.
It was quite refreshing, though the trails were a bit crowded since the weather was so pleasant. How about you? Did you manage to get some rest?
I mostly just caught up on some chores around the house and watched a movie. It was nice to finally have a low-key Sunday without any major plans.
Sometimes those quiet weekends are the best for recharging your batteries. It's tough to get back into the swing of things on a Monday morning, though.
That's for sure, but talking about the weekend helps ease the transition back to work mode. Let's take a closer look at why these specific phrases work so well in these practice samples.
In the first scenario, Iris used a very common conversation starter by asking about something shared. This is a low-pressure way to break the ice with a coworker you don't know well.
Exactly, and notice how Ernesto mentioned a caffeine boost. Using relatable terms like that makes you sound more like a natural speaker and less like a computer.
We also use the term marathon meeting to describe a long and exhausting session. It paints a clear picture of how tiring the morning was without using complex jargon.
Then we move to the elevator, where I commented on Ernesto's gear. Observing what someone is doing is a great way to start a quick chat in a small space.
I used the phrase spot on to agree with her observation immediately. It's a quick, punchy way to show you're listening and that the other person is right.
Mentioning the weather is a classic move, but I tied it to his plans for a site visit. This shows I'm paying attention to his specific situation rather than just talking to the air.
I mentioned dreading the traffic, which is another universal feeling that people can bond over. Using descriptive verbs like dreading adds more emotion and personality to your speech.
In the third sample, I asked about Ernesto's weekend based on what I saw on social media. This is a bit more personal but very common among office friends today.
I described the weekend as refreshing and pleasant. These are better choices than just saying good because they give more detail about the experience.
I used the term low-key to describe my Sunday. This means it was relaxed and not busy, which is a very popular phrase in American English.
Finally, we talked about getting back into the swing of things. This idiom is perfect for describing the process of returning to a routine after a break.
These simulations show that small talk isn't just about the words, it's about building rapport. It makes the work environment feel more welcoming and less robotic for everyone.
Even a short interaction like the one in the elevator can build a bridge between you and a colleague. You don't need to have a deep conversation to make a good impression.
Let's focus on some of the vocabulary we used, like the word hiccups. In an office setting, this refers to small, minor problems that delay a project.
It's a much more casual way to say issues or complications. People appreciate when you use natural language instead of formal corporate talk.
We also mentioned wrapping things up. This is a common way to say finishing a task or concluding a meeting.
It sounds much more fluid than saying I will complete my work. It's all about those small shifts in wording that make you sound like a pro.
Don't forget the term shave off, which I used when talking about the commute. It means to reduce a small amount of time from a total.
That's a great one for talking about efficiency or travel. Using these expressions helps you sound confident and fluent in any professional setting.
Spoty is over here wagging his tail because he knows how important these social connections are. Even a little schnauzer understands the power of a friendly greeting.
He certainly does, and just like Spoty, a positive attitude goes a long way in these interactions. People are more likely to help you if they've had pleasant small talk with you.
That's a great point about the hidden benefits of being social. It builds trust and makes collaboration much smoother when big projects come your way.
We also talked about putting in overtime. This is a reality for many of us, and mentioning it casually shows you're a hard worker.
Exactly, it's all about the tone you use during these brief exchanges. You want to sound helpful and engaged, not stressed or overwhelmed by your tasks.
We used the word marathon to describe a meeting, but you could use it for any long task. It's a useful metaphor for something that requires a lot of endurance.
I also liked how we used the word rough to describe the coffee. It's a versatile word that can describe a difficult day or a bad taste.
Using words like rough or nightmare for traffic shows you're sharing a common human experience. It's these tiny moments of empathy that build a strong work culture.
Let's look back at the site visit scenario for a second. Asking a follow-up question like the one about backroads keeps the conversation flowing naturally.
Right? It's not just a one-way street. You have to give the other person a chance to respond. That's how a quick check-in turns into a meaningful connection.
Small talk might feel intimidating at first, but it gets much easier with practice. Think of it like a muscle you need to exercise every day.
Remember to keep your eyes open for opportunities to comment on shared experiences. Whether it's the coffee or a busy schedule, there's always something to talk about.
We've covered a lot of ground in just these 3 short practice sessions today. Each scenario is designed to give you tools you can use immediately.
And don't be afraid to share a little bit about your own life too. It helps your coworkers see you as a person and not just a job title.
Let's break down that first conversation in the break room because it's a goldmine for sounding more natural. I didn't just ask if you drank the coffee, I asked if you had a chance to try it. That phrase, had a chance to, is a great shortcut.
It really is because it implies that you're busy and successful, but you might have squeezed in a moment for coffee. It's much softer than a direct question. And then I mentioned needing a caffeine boost, which is how most of us feel by 10 in the morning.
Exactly, and you described the meeting as a marathon. We use that word for anything that feels never-ending. You could have a marathon study session or a marathon cleaning day at home. It tells the listener you're exhausted without you having to complain.
It's all about that shared struggle. Then we use the word hiccups to talk about your report. If you tell your boss there are problems with the data, they might panic. If you say there are a few hiccups, it sounds like you're already fixing them.
It's a perfect word for the office because it minimizes the stress. Now, let's look at how these phrases work outside the office. Take the term wrap up. We used it for a site visit, but you can use it anywhere.
Right? If you're at a restaurant with friends and the waiter brings the check, you can say, let's wrap things up and head out. It's a very common way to say you're finished with an activity.
Or even at the gym. You could tell your workout partner you just need 5 more minutes to wrap up your sets. It sounds much more fluid than saying, I will finish my exercises now.
What about shave off? You suggested taking backroads to shave off some time. I use this when I'm grocery shopping and I see a coupon that shaves a few dollars off the total price. It's all about those small, satisfying reductions.
I love that. It's very practical. And then there's low key. I use that to describe my Sunday. You'll hear people use this to describe their personality too. A low-key person is someone who is relaxed and doesn't want a lot of attention.
If a friend asks if you want to go to a loud club or a quiet bar, you could say, I'm feeling something more low-key tonight. It sets the mood perfectly. It's the opposite of being extra or intense.
We also use the word rough. The old coffee was rough, but you can also have a rough morning if your alarm doesn't go off. It's a quick way to say something was difficult or of poor quality.
I often use rough when I'm looking at a first version of a project. I'll tell my team, this is just a rough draft, which means it's not perfect yet and I'm still working on the details.
That's a key distinction. It takes the pressure off. Let's talk about shades of meaning now, specifically how to sound more relaxed without being unprofessional. Notice I said, it looks like it might pour later.
By using it looks like and might, you're avoiding being too blunt. In American English, we often use these softeners to sound more polite and less like we're giving a lecture.
If I had said, it's going to rain, take an umbrella, it sounds like I'm your mother. But I hope you have an umbrella handy sounds like a concerned colleague. It's a very small shift in the verbs.
Another one is I'm hoping. I said I'm hoping it's a step up from the bitter stuff. Saying the new coffee must be better sounds a bit demanding. I'm hoping shows you're optimistic but realistic.
And step up is a great way to say improvement. If you get a new phone that has a better camera, you can say it's a major step up from your old one. It sounds more conversational than using the word improvement.
I also use the phrase spot on in the elevator. It's a very energetic way to agree. Instead of just saying yes or you are right, spot on shows that the other person hit the nail on the head.
It builds instant rapport because it validates the other person's observation. You can use it in a meeting too, like, your analysis of the sales dip is spot on. It makes you sound very confident.
Then we get back into the swing of things. We use this because Mondays are hard for everyone. It acknowledges that it takes a moment to find your rhythm again after the weekend.
You can use that after a long vacation too. It took me a week to get back into the swing of things after my trip to Hawaii. It's a very human way to talk about work-life balance.
What about dreading? I was dreading the traffic. This is a very strong emotion, but we use it for common annoyances. You might dread a long flight or a difficult conversation with a client.
Using dreading actually helps the other person empathize with you. If you just say, I don't like the traffic, it's a bit flat. Dreading shows you're really not looking forward to it.
It's those little emotional cues that make small talk work. Even the word handy, when you mention the umbrella, it means having something useful nearby and ready to use.
Right, I always keep a snack handy in my desk drawer just in case. It's much more natural than saying, I keep a snack available. It's about being prepared in a very casual way.
Let's revisit hiccups one more time. It's perfect for when you're talking to a client about a delay. We've had a few minor hiccups with the shipping, but we're back on track now.
That's exactly it. It frames the problem as something small and temporary. It's all about the perspective you give the other person, or wrapping up a call. I have another meeting in 2 minutes, so let's wrap this up.
It's polite but firm. It shows you value your time and theirs. And shave off isn't just for time or money. You could shave off a few pages from a long report to make it more concise.
Exactly. These words are like multi-tools. You can use them in the office, at the store, or with your family. They bridge the gap between sounding like a textbook and sounding like a neighbor.
And low-key is probably my favorite for social settings. If someone asks how a party was, and it wasn't anything special but you had a good time, low-key is the perfect descriptor.
It's much better than saying it was okay or it was boring. It gives it a specific vibe, just like rough gives the coffee a specific vibe of being hard to drink.
We also use the word bitter for the coffee. You can use that for a person's attitude too. If someone is angry about a promotion they didn't get, you might say they seem a bit bitter.
That's a great connection. It shows how physical descriptions move into emotional ones in English. But stick to using it for coffee first until you're comfortable with the nuance.
Good advice. Small talk is about being safe and friendly. Using these phrases helps you blend in and feel like part of the team without overthinking your grammar.
Think of these words as your shortcuts. They help you get to the point faster and with more style. Instead of I am making progress, you say, I'm making steady progress.
That word steady adds a lot of weight. It means you're consistent and reliable. It's a very positive word to use when your boss asks for an update.
And unexpected hiccups shows that you're smart enough to handle surprises. It's not your fault the data was messy. It was just an unexpected hiccup.
It's all about how you frame the story of your workday. Even the phrase, check out, used for the construction site. You can check out a new restaurant or check out a book from the library.
It's much more active than just looking at something. It implies you're investigating or exploring. I'm going to check out that new dark roast coffee. Sounds like a little adventure.
And if it's bad, you can just say it was rough and move on to your marathon meeting. These phrases keep the conversation moving so you don't get stuck in awkward silence.
Now, Ernesto, let's put these phrases to the test with some rapid-fire scenarios to see how they perform in real-time pressure. Imagine you're at the office and a client is visibly upset because their project delivery is running a few days late. You need to acknowledge the problem without making it sound like a total disaster or a failure on your part. How do you use our new vocabulary to calm the situation and sound professional yet approachable?
That's a classic office situation. I would look them in the eye and say, I know we're a bit behind schedule, but we've just had a few minor hiccups with the final data processing. The good news is that we are wrapping up the revisions as we speak, and I'm hoping to have the final version over to you by this afternoon. Using hiccups makes the delay feel like a small bump in the road rather than a brick wall.
I love how you combined hiccups and wrapping up there. It shows movement and progress. Let's try scenario 2. It's Friday evening, and I invite you to a massive, loud concert in the city with thousands of people. You're exhausted from the week, and you really just want to stay home or go to a quiet park. How do you decline my invitation while suggesting an alternative that matches your energy level?
If I went to a concert after the week I've had, I'd be miserable. I'd say, Iris, that sounds like an adventure, but after that marathon of a product launch we just finished, I'm really feeling something more low-key tonight. Why don't we check out that new quiet bistro down the street instead? It's a major step up from the noisy places we usually go to, and it would be much more relaxing for a Friday.
You used marathon and low-key perfectly to explain your why without sounding like you're being boring. It's all about the vibe. Last scenario. You are stuck in heavy traffic, and you know you're going to be late for our recording session. You need to give me a quick update that sounds proactive. You want to show me that you're doing your best to get here as fast as possible without sounding stressed out.
I'd give you a quick ring and say, Hey Iris, the main highway is a bit rough today, so I'm trying to shave off some time by taking the back roads through the neighborhood. It looks like I might be 10 minutes late, so keep your notes handy and we can get back into the swing of things the moment I walk through the door. It shows I'm being strategic about my route, and I value our time together.
Spot on. Those responses are exactly what we want to hear. They sound natural, confident, and very American. Now it's time for our drive-through recap, where we summarize the top 3 high-value tips from today's episode. Tip number 1, use softeners like it looks like. I'm hoping, or might, to avoid being too blunt. It makes you sound more polite and cooperative, which is essential for building strong professional and personal relationships.
Tip number 2, connect through shared struggles by using descriptive words like marathon, rough, or caffeine boost. When you use these words, you're telling the other person that you understand what they're going through. It creates an immediate sense of empathy and rapport. Whether you're talking about a long meeting or a bad cup of coffee, these words act as social glue that brings people together in a conversation.
And finally, tip number 3, master your multi-tool phrases like wrap up, shave off, and check out. These aren't just for the office. They are incredibly versatile and work in almost any setting. Whether you are finishing a workout, saving money with a coupon, or visiting a new place, these phrases help you avoid the repetitive, formal language found in textbooks and make you sound like a local neighbor.
If you start implementing even just one of these tips tomorrow morning, you'll notice a huge difference in how people respond to you. You'll feel less like you're translating in your head and more like you're truly communicating your thoughts and feelings. Remember, English is about connection, not perfection. Just keep practicing these small shifts in your vocabulary, and you will find your rhythm in no time at all.
That is the perfect note to end on. That's all for today's episode of English Drive-Thru. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a lesson. We'll see you next time for more practical English for your daily life.